This next weather setup could flip the script fast across the eastern United States, and we're watching it very closely. There is growing potential for additional snow as we head toward the end of this upcoming work week and into next weekend, but there are still major unknowns. We're trying to determine whether one storm or possibly two systems will develop, how strong the cold air supply will be, and whether enough moisture shows up to fuel a significant winter event. That's exactly what we'll be analyzing all week long. We're going to break down the latest model guidance, dive into the overall pattern driving all of this, check in on the West where winter is finally about to explode, and then wrap things up with today's forecast. Good Sunday morning. Hope you're doing great. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoy these updates. Let's get started. Take a look at the latest European model from overnight. We're jumping ahead to Thursday evening the 12th, and for this time frame, most of the central U.S. stays pretty quiet. There really isn't much action there, so our focus stays locked on the eastern half of the country. As we move forward in time, you can see a stripe of snow developing across parts of the Midwest, and watch what happens as this energy dives southeast. By Friday morning, snow spreads into the lower Ohio Valley, parts of the Mid-South, and additional areas of the Midwest. There's even a band of moderate snowfall stretching from the southern Midwest through portions of the central and southern Appalachians. Now watch this carefully. By Friday midday, some of this precipitation begins mixing with rain as far south as northern Georgia and parts of South Carolina, while snow continues across North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. As we move into Friday evening, the system tries to strengthen slightly closer to the coast, with snow potentially reaching eastern South Carolina and large portions of North Carolina. After that, the system quickly exits offshore and winds down. But here's the bigger storyline. There is another storm behind it that has been generating a lot of buzz online. Earlier model runs showed the potential for snow across the Deep South, but the newest overnight data has backed off significantly. The system still exists, and you can see small pockets of snow across parts of Georgia and southwestern North Carolina, but it's weaker overall. The cold air support just isn't as strong, and that has reduced the winter storm potential. Take a look at this comparison. Yesterday's model runs were showing a much more dramatic setup, and honestly, this is a good reminder about how quickly long-range weather projections can change. It's fun to look at those extreme solutions, but locking onto a single run can be misleading because most of the time those big snow scenarios fade away as newer data comes in. So just be cautious when you see viral snow maps floating around social media. They can create excitement, but they're rarely a final forecast. Now let's shift to the newest European update. That Friday system still exists, but it looks far less organized. There's energy diving into the region Friday morning, but moisture levels are lower. That means more scattered flurries across the Mid-South and western Carolinas instead of widespread accumulating snow. You may still see snow showers across parts of the Carolinas Friday, but the overall impact looks much lower compared to earlier projections. So what does the GFS model show? Watch this timeline starting Thursday morning. It shows a clipper system diving in, but it weakens quickly. Instead, it shifts more moisture toward the western U.S. while leaving light snow across parts of the Midwest. Then as we head toward next weekend, the GFS merges multiple pieces of energy into a larger system. By Saturday night into Sunday, a broad low-pressure system moves across the eastern U.S. There's just enough trapped cold air east of the Appalachians to support freezing rain across the North Carolina mountains and mixed winter precipitation across parts of the mid-Atlantic. Northern Michigan could even see some freezing rain mixed in with snow. However, the low-pressure track isn't perfectly aligned for major winter weather. It becomes a significant rainmaker for many areas, and winter precipitation only occurs where colder air holds on. Later, as the system transfers energy toward the coast, colder air wraps in behind it, bringing heavier snow to parts of the Northeast by Sunday. Areas along the I-95 corridor could stay mostly rain because temperatures remain marginal. Now let's check the Canadian model. Watch this closely because it offers a very different solution. By Thursday morning, it develops stronger energy tracking across the southern U.S. By Friday morning, there is much more moisture available along with stronger cold air pushing south. Snow begins spreading across North Carolina and Virginia, and by midday Friday, it shows a localized snowstorm across eastern North Carolina. Some guidance even suggests snow reaching as far south as Myrtle Beach by Friday evening before fading away. Then we look at the second storm on the Canadian model. It carries more moisture and appears slightly colder overall. By Sunday morning, heavy mixed precipitation develops across the Appalachians with icing potential around Charlotte and parts of northeast Georgia. Meanwhile, widespread snow spreads across the Ohio Valley and Midwest. Eventually, the system weakens and breaks apart, allowing another disturbance to follow behind it. Now take a look at the Euro AI guidance. Starting around Friday midday, it doesn't support much activity across the Carolinas or Virginia with the first system. The second storm still appears, but initially it looks like a large rain shield. There's some leftover cold air from the northeast, but the placement and strength of high pressure isn't strong enough to lock in a classic cold air damming setup. As we move toward early next week, there's still winter weather potential across the mid-Atlantic and southern northeast, but it doesn't currently appear to be a high-impact event. Let's step back and look at ensemble guidance because this gives us a broader view. The European ensemble combines dozens of model runs to create an average forecast. When you look at snowfall signals from Friday through Sunday, you can see modest snow accumulation across areas accustomed to winter weather, along with a combined signal stretching through the Carolinas, Virginia, and West Virginia, tied to both storm systems. There's also a signal suggesting freezing rain potential across parts of the mid-Atlantic, which hints at cold air damming possibilities. The GFS ensemble shows a similar footprint but pushes snow potential slightly farther south into the Carolinas and eventually expands snowfall into the northeast. While it's not a guarantee, it clearly shows that something is trying to develop. Now let's talk about the pattern driving all of this. Take a look at this map. That blue shading represents a trough, meaning lower pressure and colder air. Right now, that cold air source is positioned slightly too far east, which complicates storm development. The first system arriving Friday is moisture-starved, even though cold air is stronger. The second system later in the weekend has better moisture but weaker cold air support. That tug of war is why forecast confidence remains low. As we move deeper into mid-February, temperatures across the eastern U.S. remain slightly below average, but for snow to reach deeper into the southeast, we would need colder conditions than what models currently show. Areas like the foothills and mountains of North Carolina and parts of Virginia have the best chance for wintry precipitation if things trend colder. Those extreme snow maps you may have seen recently showing widespread deep south snowfall look impressive, but based on the current pattern, they would require a very unlikely chain of events. It's not impossible, but it would be a very low probability scenario. Now watch this major shift. A strong trough is expected to swing into the western United States, bringing a surge of storm systems. That means the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, and Rocky Mountains are about to receive multiple rounds of snow. Ski resorts and snowpack levels across the West could finally see significant improvement after a relatively quiet winter so far. Take a look at this long-range ensemble projection. Beginning about a week from now, storm systems start lining up across the West, one after another. Snowfall spreads from Washington and Oregon through California and into the Rockies. Even lower elevation valleys, including areas near Portland and Seattle, may see winter weather opportunities. Salt Lake City, which has had a very snow-starved winter, could finally see major snowstorms during this stretch. Now let's talk about today's weather. A Clipper system is sliding southeast, and North Carolina could see scattered snow showers or flurries throughout the day. Moisture is also present across parts of Oklahoma and Texas, while a new storm system begins moving into the western U.S. Weather alerts are fairly limited right now, but radar early this morning already showed snow moving into southwest Virginia. I would not be surprised to see scattered snow showers across northern Carolina today, despite some models downplaying it. Later this afternoon and evening, that activity should fade away. But watch early tomorrow morning. There could be just enough moisture and cold air for sleet or flurries across parts of the southeast. It's something subtle but worth monitoring. The northeast stays quiet today but remains extremely cold. The south-central U.S. remains calm with only isolated showers. The north-central region stays mostly quiet as well, though some flurries are possible. Then later tonight, another Clipper system dives into northeastern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan, bringing snow and possibly a little freezing rain or sleet as warmer air tries to push north. Out west, moisture is increasing, marking the beginning of a much more active pattern.
Temperatures remain bitterly cold across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, while the Southeast stays chilly. Meanwhile, you can literally see the boundaries separating winter from spring across the central U.S., with temperatures climbing into the 70s and 80s across parts of Texas, while winter conditions dominate farther east. That's the latest breakdown. This is a complicated setup with multiple moving parts, and things will continue changing over the next several days. I'll be tracking every update and refining the forecast as new data comes in, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.